Hi everyone, welcome back to the series of extraterrestrial messages and revelations. So, as promised in the last episode, this is episode 5. It's going to be about cyborgs. Okay, so the main questions I went to the extraterrestrials with were it was actually a joint effort. Like making the questions isn't always up to me. They kind of sometimes they actually help me form the question in a sense. So I'll spend time forming the question. So the question I want to address today is why cyborgs, and that is to say, why do some abductees, witnesses, or experiences meet cyborgs, or see cyborgs, or even feel them or sense them at times? Now, the first thing that I'd like to confirm is that cyborgs exist. Okay? Round of applause. They do exist. Okay? I mean, that's what they said, that they do exist. The first thing they wanted to make clear was that the cyborgs are connected to certain E.T. races, and not all races make cyborgs or have artificial intelligence in a sense that it's like a cyborg, like one of them, or like like a human being would make AI look like a person, or say for example, if a grey would ever make a grey cyborg, or a reptile cyborg, or whatever. So they said some races do, some races don't. Number one was that greys do not ever make cyborgs. Apparently the cyborgs are someone else's stuff, is what they said to me. Someone else's stuff. It was very clear. That's what it would translate to in English. They said that the issue of cyborgs is a very ancient one, and greys used to be like, what's the word for it? Be misunderstood, and people thought that they were the ones who made the cyborgs in a sense, but they don't make them. They said the whole idea behind the cyborgs has to do with the Universal Intergalactic Federation. And like I said, this is a synonym. It's not the exact translation. If someone knows the name of the body, please let me know in English. But it's what I could translate the meaning to be. Universal Intergalactic Federation. And they said that the reptilians are the ones who make cyborgs, but they do not make reptilian cyborgs. They make grey cyborgs and other kinds of cyborgs. They do that to bypass the Universal Intergalactic Federation security when it comes to entering Earth, or like going through the security that surround Earth, because Earth is like I've mentioned before, very highly protected by the Universal Intergalactic Federation. So the security, they said, is DNA based. So the cyborgs are made by the reptilians to be 100% lifelike, and they can represent any of the peaceful, quote unquote peaceful, Universal Intergalactic Federation races. Hence the Greys say, beware those who come bearing gifts and their false promises. Now they had to make a point here that the reptilians are a very, very intelligent race. They are not all bad, okay? Some of them are very good and wise and very intelligent and capable. They said there are factions of the reptilians who are not enlightened as the ones that are high vibrational, who do these kinds of things. And it's like they likened it to, say, for example, on Earth there are people who are, for example, good, would be considered good and high vibrational, and there's also people who are into crime and things like that, you know, for example, drug smugglers, scammers, things like that. These kinds of people, they are considered like not as enlightened, or maybe they have a different view of life than the other ones that are considered good. And that's what is the case with the reptilians, okay? I got the sense that the reptilians go to extremes. So they're either extremely good and extremely, you know, like high vibrational, or they could be terrifying, like really terrible, okay? And not just terrible, they're clever terrible, like really intelligent but awful. Hence, they are able to make the cyborgs, the so-called cyborgs, or the AI, like Greys and so on, to pierce through the security of the Universal Intergalactic Federation, because they said what happens is they scan the DNA within the craft, okay, and the DNA has to be of a certain type for it to be allowed to enter. It's not about logos. It's not about, you know, what the volume of the craft is, or the sound or whatever. It's about the DNA within the craft body, or the craft itself, the occupants mainly. The occupants. So when they scan the occupants and they have DNA that is gray DNA, they allow them through. And they said this is a problem because it's one of the most difficult things to do for the security around Earth, is to really know which is a real biological gray, for example, or other biological Nordic ET, for example, if I can make that an example. Yeah. Or an actual cyborg ET, which is gray or Nordic. So that's the deception that some reptilian factions create, so that they can pierce the security, so that they can get to Earth. Now they said that it doesn't really happen often, but when they do, they can cause a lot of damage, both physical, emotional, and spiritual, to people, and they can create a lot of havoc. They can make people believe things that are not true about the universe, about the Greys, about the Nordics, about so on. Sometimes these involve issues that are highly controversial within the Federation, the Universal Intergalactic Federation, like, for example, the spirit and the soul transfer and things like that, which they do not do. But the AI Greys would sometimes come and do these things, and they said that you'll find that people who see stuff like this also get the sense that whatever's doing it is AI. It's a gray AI, or it's something like that, okay? Now, it's a big issue for the Greys themselves, and it's another reason why they make human gray genetic hybrids. Like I've mentioned in my previous episodes, they had other reasons for hybridization, and this is one of them. When they make human-grade genetic hybrids, they can trust them, because in the hybridization process, they use DNA that is of higher ranking greys, royal greys, to hybridize with humans. This is DNA that the reptilians don't have access to. They don't have access to it, they don't know the composition and so on. So, they can trust them, they use them for missions, they use them to communicate with humans who are selected, who are, important to the Universal Intergalactic Federation and the Ascension process, and they like the spiritual development of Earth and so on. These are the ones that communicate with humans who are connected to that. Now they say the Greys, when they want to hybridize, they never use AI. As I said, they don't create AI. They hybridize in person. There are two reasons for that. The first reason is that AI is unable to detect certain types of telepathy that the Greys are interested in developing within the human race or within the hybrids themselves. And also, the second reason, they said there is such a thing that is called strength of intent, quote unquote. And this strength of intent is available or is common in certain families in the human lineages. The strength of intent is important when it comes to being part of the universal community. It is basically like the strength, they likened it to strength of will, but it's not really will, it's about intent. Like, say for example, you want to pray or say something like do a spell, or like for example manifest something. Your intent has to be of a certain strength for that to be able to happen quickly, and that is within certain human lineages, and that's what they look for. And basically they're saying that the AI is unable to detect that strength of intent, okay, or what they call the strength of intent, quote unquote. Therefore, they are saying that this is a complicated thing with cyborgs. There's going to be another episode about cyborgs. I would say that the next episode I will make about cyborgs as well, because there's a lot more information that they're going to reveal. But this is basically what it boils down to. And hence they said there was a warning that was communicated to humans to be careful when they deal with Greys, because not all Greys are the real deal, and not all, say for example, Nordics are the real deal. So they would like to encourage people to use their discretion when they communicate with these races, and to see how they feel about it. For example, if someone is a psychic like myself, or a telepath or so on, they can suss them out, okay? And I have come across cases where, or instances where I've seen a craft and I didn't really like it, and I felt that there was something off about it, and then I would discover that this is like the cyborg driven crafts that are supposed to be a little bit deceptive towards us and have other more ulterior motives. So it is a very complicated issue. I hope there's been some clarity about it within this episode, but basically the two messages are the Greys don't use cyborgs, or any other like highly ranking race does not use cyborgs, especially when it comes to hybridization or contact. They don't use AI, okay, because there's valuable values that they are looking for that the AI is actually unable to detect properly, okay. No matter how advanced, there are still things that they are unable to detect, okay, like when it comes to things like the strength of intent and the certain level, a certain refined level of telepathy that they are looking for or that they want to develop. The other thing they said was that the higher and advanced races, and this is very important, do not use cyborgs, but they use drones that are sometimes not even visible to the human eye. They're very small, but they can gather a huge amount of information and they can do all kinds of things. But they're very tiny and they can they traverse the universe instantaneously, okay? And this is something that is very important to note, because they said they don't really need to make a whole person to do it. However, the reptilians, when they want to deceive the Federation security, that's what they do, because the Federation obviously checks for the basically the physical attributes and also the DNA of the structure. And the cyborgs that the reptilians make, they are identical DNA copies of the higher races. So it's an important episode, I think, this one, for people to exercise their discretion and not to be just, open with any of the E.T.s. But they said that people will feel that something is off if it's not the right kind of energy. And if it's an imitation, most of them will feel it, okay? And they have other systems in place, they said, to make sure that it is secure, and hence that's why it hasn't collapsed so far. It's been a good security system protecting Earth. It hasn't, from outside influences and from karmic energy, universal energy, like I've said in my episodes before. So they said it's gonna be fine, but they just needed people to know this information. I will talk more about the cyborgs in the next episode, and there will also be information about the hybridisation and the Greys' history and how they started, what they are and how they reproduce, and elements that it's always surprising, the information that they come up with, because it makes sense, but I would have never thought of it myself. It's very interesting. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. I hope you've liked this episode. Remember, you're all amazing. We are considered, one of the good races, the superior races. There's a lot of hope for us to do well, and we will be okay. So do not panic. Just try and be the best version of yourself, especially when it comes to spirituality and kindness, okay, and love. And in the end, you're all special to the whole universe. The planet is special to the whole universe because it's all connected together and we're all one big family. And I want to end this episode giving you their love and their appreciation, and for they're grateful that the majority of human beings are accepting and welcoming to them, okay? I love you guys so much. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe so this message can go out to more people. And I will see you guys in the next episode. I feel exhausted because this was so complicated. When they explained it to me, it really took me a long time to get it right. So I hope the message was clear. Any questions, anything like that, leave it in the comments. Any suggestions, any experiences as well, if any of you have had similar experiences to what I'm talking about, because obviously I'm not going to be the only person who's had this kind of communication or contact. Also let me know, and I love you all very much, and I will never take any of you lightly, and I will see you guys in your next episode. Be protected, healthy, wealthy, loved, and amazing as you are always. Thank you, guys.